Welcome to Journey with the Jays, NFL Sunday edition on Real 1100 AM radio. This week we have the Atlanta Falcons on a bye, the return of Jeff Cadillac at the end of the show, and of course, guys, our locks of the week. Jake, John, JB, Spenser here. Spreads are brought to you by the Heater app. So we're going to start with you, Jake. You had your best week of the season last week. You went 3-1. You must be feeling pretty good right now. So why don't you share with us who your lock of the week is?
Yeah, so 3-1 last week. Just to give a little recap, I said the Bears would have covered at that 5.5. They did not, but I got everything else right. Giants, Dolphins, Falcons, all got those right. So this week we are going to pick the Cardinals. That's right. I am taking the Cardinals this week. Cardinals play at home against the Bills, and they are favored by 2 points. So it's a close spread this week. I'm taking the Cardinals to cover that spread. Look, the Bills played well last week, and that's all well and good. But Josh Allen had one of the best weeks he could have had ever, and he absolutely obliterated that Seahawks defense. And that's part of the reason, because it was a garbage defense he had to play against. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Josh Allen, but the truth of the matter is that was a terrible defense, and a lot of guys are doing really well against that Seahawks defense. This week, Cardinals defense is not amazing, but at least it's better. Kyler Murray and John Drew Hopkins got something special going on. I love watching the two of them. It is so fun. And for me, the big thing is that the Cardinals came off a tough loss last week against the Dolphins, which I predicted, by the way, and John, I know you're very happy about that. We always talk about the bounce back. That's Jeff's favorite thing, the bounce back. And this week, you got the Bills riding high, right? They come off a big win. Maybe they're feeling a little cocky now. Happens. I'm not saying that they will, but who knows? It could, right? And more importantly, you got Kyler Murray and the Cardinals pissed off that they just lost on the bounce back. I can't bet against that. I love my bounce backs, and look, I'm betting with it this week. It's usually a recipe for success, so I'll go with it. I like Kyler Murray, and I love that offense. I think it's going to be a fun game, but at 2 points, I'm really not worried about that. It's not, it's under that 3 points. We always talk about 3 points is kind of the threshold. Once you get to 3.5, that hook and that, that extra 5 point, half point is a little bit concerning, but being at 2, that's nothing of concern. Even if, somehow they only win by a field goal, they still cover. That's more, that's 3. They're fine. I think they'll win by more than that, but at 2 points, I'd easily take that. Spencer, what do you think?
Yeah, this is a really interesting game. These are two teams that have looked amazing throughout the season, and they've also looked not so great at certain points in the season. They're pretty inconsistent. They lean towards playing, better football because they both have winning records. But like you said, the Cardinals are coming off a loss. They are 5-3 against the spread this year. The Cardinals have looked pretty good. Last week wasn't on Murray. I put that on the Cardinals defense for letting the Dolphins do whatever they wanted, and also the Dolphins defense and their special teams made some key plays against the Cardinals. I'm going to agree with you. I like Arizona here. I think that Buffalo had their way last week with one of the worst defenses in the league in Seattle. I think the Cardinals have a slightly better defense than that. I don't think they're going to let Josh Allen do what Tua did last week and just tear them apart. I think they come to play this week. I like the Cardinals to win and cover at home.
Yeah, I think Buffalo is going to come out and show why I think they're winning the East. In the AFC, the Cardinals are a good team. They had a good game against the Dolphins last week. They came up short. They're going to come up short by a little bit more this week. I don't think it's going to be as close. I like the Bills. The Bills defense, I think, is going to step up, keep Murray in check, and I think that the Bills are going to come and show why I think that they're one of the better teams in the AFC. John?
Yeah, I have the Cardinals here as well. I mean, Kyler Murray, one of the best seasons statistically we've ever seen from a quarterback when it comes to the running and passing combination. I just don't see how the Bills compete with that. And the Bills are going on the road. They've had a lot of their important games at home, like that Seahawks game. So going on the road, I just don't see how they go across the country and beat Arizona. I just see Arizona, taking it in this one.
I like the analysis. And you know what, John, you bring up a great point that Kyler Murray is so versatile on both sides. Lamar Jackson's a good comparison right now. Lamar Jackson last year, though, was really great at running the ball, and not to take anything away from his passing abilities. But last year, what did we all talk about? How amazing Lamar Jackson's running the ball, and he breaks records, right? Kyler Murray is not breaking records, but instead he's playing really well on in both facets of his game in terms of throwing and running. That's a great point. Plus, truth is, the more I think about it, Bills defense really hasn't been that amazing this season. They've been okay, but considering what they were last year compared to this year, it's like, it's like Jekyll and Hyde, and I hate to say it like that, but it's totally different. Last season they were dominating and top 5 defense. They're scary. Everybody's concerned when they see them on the schedule. This season, not as much. They're maybe average. Some rankings might even have them below average with the way they're playing. Not the same team as last year. I think Kyler Murray is going to have a nice day. So, John, I want to move on to you. Also went 3-1 last week, didn't you?
2-2.
I'm sorry. JB went 3 weeks. Actually, let's go to JB first because JB was the other one that went 3-1. Sorry about that.
It's okay. The game I did lose, I had Seattle, who I'm staying with again this week, playing the Rams in LA. They're going to be traveling to LA. It's a short trip down the coast. I think Seattle's going to bounce back. LA's on the bye week. The LA defense is, really good, but Seattle, Russell Wilson's going to show why he's going to win his first MVP this year. Seattle's going to come out and they're going to win the game. It's going to be close, but I would buy the points up to 3.5. So you can win if you get the field goal, if you lose by a field goal, because it's going to be a close game. But when it's all said and done, I like Seattle. I think they're a really good team. And, even though I have the Rams as my favorite to come out of the NFC, I wouldn't be shocked to see Seattle keep this game close and within a field goal. I think Russell Wilson's the real deal. What do you think, John?
I have the Rams in this one. I just don't like that Seattle's run game is banged up. That scares me. That was part of the problem against the Bills. They had no run game, really. And the Bills knew that, and the Bills were able to pin their ears back and just rush the passer. And when you don't have a run game, you have to be able to balance. And when their run game's banged up, Seattle's is, and they're going on the road again, and they don't play as well on the road as they do at home. And the Rams are coming off a bye. I don't like Seattle here. Yeah, they can put up points, but the Rams can also take the ball away, and they can run the ball really well and control the clock. So I got to go with the Rams here.
John, I don't agree with you. I see your logic. I get it. I'm with JB. First of all, we keep saying it, and Jeff he's going to come on the show in a little bit, but it's his favorite thing to talk about. And I said it when I brought up my pick, and JB just said it. I completely agree. One word or one phrase rather: bounce back. That's all I got. That's all you got to say. Seattle on a bounce back. Russell Wilson's been unbelievable, and yeah, their defense is not spectacular. But I do think that more importantly, when you look at this, Russell Wilson will outduel Jared Goff if it comes down to that. Russell Wilson is the superior quarterback by a long shot, and it's not to be mean to Jared Goff or take anything away from him. I think Jared Goff is a good quarterback, but he is nowhere near, especially right now, as good as the way Russell Wilson has played. Russell Wilson has been, by far the best quarterback at the moment in this league. So I give him all the credit. And on the bounce back, the defense is going to be pissed. The offense is going to be pissed. Everybody's going to be pissed they lost. Pete Carroll's going to be upset that they lost. Pete Carroll just got an extension, I believe, last week. He's a great coach. He's going to, coach this team and fix the issues that he saw last week, coming into this week. And yes, the Rams are healthy, and more importantly, they're rested. But I don't see Jared Goff in that Rams offense outdueling Russell Wilson with what he's put up this year.
Yeah, for me, it's John said it best, but it's contingent on who runs for Seattle. If I can see Chris Carson or Carlos Hyde out there, I'll feel very confident that Seattle will cover that spread. If I have to see DJ Dallas again running the football and it's all on Russell Wilson's shoulders, it's going to be a little bit tougher of a bet for me. I will say that Seattle is 7-1 in over-unders this year. Their defense is so bad, they just always hit the over. So if you're going to make a bet on this game, probably bet the over. If I had to lean one way or the other, I'm going to lean towards Seattle, but I would really like to see Carson or Carlos Hyde play in that game.
Would be nice, but we'll see. So, John, I meant to go to you before, or to JB first, but now I will go to you correctly. You went 2-2 this week. Tell us about who you got this week.
Yeah, I have San Fran here, my lock of the week, plus 9.5 on the road. I actually like that because they're getting healthy. They have a lot of guys coming back, that run game. I just like them to be able to run the ball against the Saints. The Saints are coming off a win, really that win, it got away from Tampa Bay. So I feel like the Saints are going to kind of be full of themselves. And the Niners are good at controlling the clock and kind of controlling the game. And the Saints really aren't that impressive to me yet. They haven't hit their stride yet. I know that game was impressive, but I don't know. I just feel like the Niners are going to surprise the Saints here. I know Nick Mullins is in, but the Niners have had about a week and a half in between their games. They can run the ball. They got a lot of running backs in that backfield, and they're getting healthy. And a lot of guys are going to come back from COVID. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, a lot of guys that the Saints might not be able to cover because Marshawn Lattimore can't cover all of them fast guys. Just remember that. You got Deebo and Brandon Ayuk. So just remember that.
Interesting pick, John. But here's what I'll say. I'm going to agree but disagree. I'm going to agree. I think San Francisco covers the spread. So if you're betting, bet with San Francisco because that 9.5, that's a big spread, and I'm not a huge fan of that. I don't love that. I know it's under 10, so it's not necessarily a touchdown and a field goal. It's almost 2 full scores, but not quite. But still, I don't love it. But I don't pick San Francisco to win. If you think San Francisco is going to win,
we're just talking lines right now.
I'm just saying. No, but I'm just saying. If anybody is listening and just wondering who I think is going to win, absolutely not. I'm going to the Saints. But I will say, John, I have to agree with you with that team getting healthy. I'm not saying that the Saints are going to lose that game. Like I said, I think they'll win. But 9.5 is a pretty large spread, and
it feels like a trap.
It really does. You're right. And the problem is also we have seen at times the Saints play down to their competition. And that doesn't happen every week because obviously see last week, where they absolutely kicked the snot out of the Bucs. But at the same time, there have been games that the Saints played that they kind of played down to their competition and weren't as electric as you might hope. I mean, it does happen, especially with these good teams. We see it all the time, and we even see it with we look at this past week, we look at the Steelers. They played down to their competition, and I'm not comparing the Saints and the Steelers, of course, but I'm just saying good teams do play down to competition. At 9.5, not a huge fan of that. So I pick the Saints to win, but betting-wise, I'm with you. I actually agree that spread is covered by San Francisco.
Yeah, this is one of my games. It's not my lock of the week, but I like the Niners plus 9.5. I agree with everything you guys said. This is a huge trap game for – yeah, JB, I see you shaking your head. Look, I wanted to pick the other way. I want to say Saints minus 9.5, but I just don't think – I think what the Saints did to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this last week was so demoralizing and humiliating. I feel like this is a week that they're going to say, what else can we do on the football field? We just destroyed a team. We beat the greatest quarterback in the entire world in the last 20 years. We gave him that L, 31-3 or 38-3, whatever the final score was. So I do think that they're going to kind of, like you guys said, play down to their competition. I think Nick Mullins comes out slinging the rock. I think he has one of those Brett Favre, Nick Mullins type of games. I could see it being a close game. I think the Saints will win by a field goal. Maybe it'll be a touchdown. I don't think it's going to be more than 9.5 points. JB, why are all three of us wrong?
So the first thing I'm going to say is this game isn't even worth talking about. The Saints are going to prove why they're one of the better teams in the NFC. They're gonna win this game handily because that's what good teams do. Good teams don't fall apart after a dominating win against a team that are supposed to be tough. They're gonna come out and show why they're a much better team. I'd rather take my 2 seconds and say, listen to our other 2 shows that are on our network, Perch Gridiron and the Pundit. Play a fantasy football, Perch Gridiron's the way to go. Get all your info there. And the Pundit's Pundit with the hot takes. We're going to see John take him on in a debate one day, and we're all going to be blown away. But Saints win this easily. The Saints are going to win by 2 touchdowns. It's nice and simple. The Saints are going to prove why they're going to be one of the teams we're talking about come playoff time and have a shot to go to the Super Bowl. So that's all I got to say about that. Yes.
So JB, I just want to reply to what you said because you said good teams don't beat teams they should and then come off and play a bad game. When the Steelers beat the Ravens, and then they came off and barely
I'm not saying
the Cowboys.
Wait, listen, John.
Just saying.
The Saints have a lot more to deal with this. This is a team in their conference that got to the Super Bowl last year. You're not playing just anybody. They're playing the team that went to the Super Bowl. So it's not like they're playing a team that's doing nothing, that hasn't made the playoffs in how many years. And they're in the NFC East in the other conference. So it was a waste of a game for Pittsburgh. There was no reason to be up for it. Yes, San Francisco just went to the Super Bowl. They are a decent team, but they're still kind of hurt. They're missing, their best weapon on offense. So, Jimmy G hasn't been able to run the offense, and whoever they're going to put at quarterback, it doesn't matter. They're not going to compete. Drew Brees is back home. He had a great game on the road. You got Kamara. You got Thomas. This game's over. Why waste your time? Listen to Perch Gridiron. Pundit's pundit. Better use of time. What do you got for us this week, Spencer?
All right, I went 1-3 last week. Had a really bad week. We're not going to go over my losses. I'm now 6-10. I am tied with John for last place in this league, and I'm going to go out on a limb for my lock of the week. This is something that I never thought I would do on this show. I'm going to pick the Giants plus 3.5 at home against the Philadelphia Eagles. They're coming off a huge win against the Washington football team. Daniel Jones did not turn the ball over for the first time all year, which is incredible that it took him however many games to not turn the ball over.
Too many games.
I will say this. The Giants are 6-3 against the spread. They continue their recent trend of covering with their third straight cover, and that's their fifth in the past 6 games. This is a team that even when they lose, they know how to cover. I can see this game being a field goal win for either team. I'd like the Giants to pull it out. I'm not sure how realistic that is. I can see them making some bonehead play at the end of the game to lose this game like they did in the first matchup against the Eagles. But I do like them to cover that 3.5. It's a divisional game. They are much better than their record says they are. I like the Giants plus 3.5 this week. JB, what are your thoughts?
I'm all with you on the Giants this week. They lost the game in Philly really close. They've played every game close. They're in every game. The problem is they're not winning many games, but you're getting 3.5 points. I think they're going to win the game outright, but you give me points on top of it over a field goal. I'm good. Give me the Giants and the points, and I don't think I sweat at all this game. John,
I'm going Eagles here. I mean, you're making me show you one of my picks. I'm picking the Eagles for one of my other games, minus 3.5. The Eagles have won the last 8 games in this series. Are we seriously picking the Giants here? The Eagles have won 8 in a row in this series. Doug Peterson's 8-1 against the Giants in his career. Come on. What are we doing picking, the Giants anywhere near this? The Eagles are going to win this division. They're going to win this game easily. Coming off a bye. Done.
Yeah, John, I get what you're saying, and I'm going to disagree, though. Giants have actually played better as of late, and honestly, they've kept games pretty close. You look at their last few games that they were in, you look at this week, we beat Washington by 3. You look at the week before that, we lost to the Buccaneers only by 2, and that's against Tom Brady, which is, nothing to scoff at. You look at the week before that against the Eagles, we lost by 1 point. I mean, 1. Then you look at the week before that, week 6, Washington, a 1 point win. We lose to the Cowboys. It's by 3 the week before that. The list goes on and on. The Giants keep being really close. What?
That's a lot of NFC East games that you just mentioned.
You're right. Guess what? This is another NFC East game, and that's the thing. You look at all our division games at the least, keep our division games close. It's just what the Giants do. They may not win everything because they suck, and that's just bottom line. They suck, and I know that. But the truth of the matter is, especially in division games, they actually keep it a lot closer than they should, especially against the Bucs, which is a great example of how good that Giants defense can be. They kept it really close, and they kept Tom Brady relatively in check, which was quite impressive, you ask me. I mean, I did not see that coming. I thought that was going to be a lot worse, but, yeah, it happens. And so the truth of the matter is, it's a solid team that, they're not winning games. They're well coached. They can get their act together, and at 3.5, I like the Giants not only to cover, but I do think they'll win as well, actually.
John, two quick things. The Eagles are 3-5 against the spread, and that 8-0 stat that you threw at us, that's just winning ball games. We're not doing that right now. We're talking about spreads.
But I'm just saying the Eagles will handle it. Coming off a bye, getting healthy with Miles Sanders, you get Goddard back. They're getting really healthy. They're ready to go on a run.
The Eagles can be healthy. They can be healthy, and the 4 of us and 7 of the guys down the block can probably beat them. They're not a good team. They're not a good team. They're starting to look good.
They looked great on the bye.
It's hard. It's hard to win when your team is all banged up, but they're getting healthy. They're supposed to get Jeffrey
They're
back.
never
They're
healthy.
getting
That's
Rager
the
back.
problem.
Even when they're
You're
healthy, they're not
here.
good.
Teams have had a tough time covering Fulgham. They won 8 in a row in this series. This is a layup
Okay.
picking the
Giants
Eagles in this.
Giants had to cover Fulgham, and guess what? You know how close that game was? You remember
All
what
right.
I said? Exactly.
On the road.
All
On
right,
the road.
guys,
1 point.
we got to get Jeff in here, but before we do, let's give our remaining 3 picks. Jake, let's start with you. Outside of your lock of the week, and please recap, who are your next 3 picks that you like this week?
Yep. So I got the Cardinals again covering that 2-point spread. And I'm taking yet again the Dolphins 3-point spread. I'm taking them to cover this week. I got the Buccaneers at 4.5 to cover, and more importantly, the other one we mentioned previously with JB. I'm taking the Seahawks to cover that 1.5-point spread.
So I got the Seahawks +2, the Raiders -5. I got the Dolphins on, taking care of business here. I got the Dolphins jersey on tonight, no question about it. And as I just said, the Giants, they're going to keep it close, and I think they win outright. And before you know it, first place in the division. What do you got, John?
Yeah, so mine, I already mentioned San Francisco lock of the week. I mentioned Philly as one of my others, -3.5. I got New England +7 Sunday Night Football. I really like this as a trap game for the Ravens. They haven't been playing the best offensively. I feel like New England and Bill Belichick really step up against the Ravens at home. And then I also have Cleveland coming off the bye, -3 at home against the Houston Texans, who barely beat the Jags. They don't look like a very good team. They put up points, but they don't look like a very good team. So Cleveland coming off the bye, getting healthy. I like them at home.
My lock of the week is the Giants +3.5 home against Philadelphia. I like Houston in that game against Cleveland, John. I like Houston to cover the 3 points away. I like the Lions at home -4 against the Washington football team. I think that this is a must-win game for Matt Patricia and them if they want to be relevant down the stretch. And as I said earlier, I like the Niners +9.5 on the road against the Saints. So let's bring in our gambling expert onto the show, Jeff Cadillac. Jeff, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, fellas.
You got it. So listen, you got to listen to all our picks. I'm sure you have some type of feelings on how we feel. Why don't you give us your picks on these games?
Okay, and for all the folks out there, you can always catch me, all my picks that I talk about today in full analysis on my website at jeffcadillac.com. And also my best bet of the week is going to be on Twitter on Fridays at jeffcadillac1. I listened to you guys go back and forth about the Philly Giants game. I have to disagree with you on this one, John, because I like the Giants at home +3.5, and I'll tell you why. Week 7 at Philly, the Giants were winning 21-10. They ended up losing 22-21. In divisional games, teams do not forget these things. And Carson Wentz, he pulled it out at the end. And believe me, the Giants want some revenge. It's very hard to sweep a series in a divisional divisional games. It's very hard to sweep it. Golden Tate, he's going to have a big game this week because he didn't play last week. He had a little run-in with the coach. He figured it out that, listen, at the end of the day, the coach always wins. He's going to have a big day this week, I could tell you that. He's going to show everybody that he wants the ball, and he's going to get the ball, and he's going to have a big game. Carson Wentz, before the bye, he had 2 interceptions and 2 fumbles against an inept Dallas team. If that was a regular team, they would have scored on all 4 turnovers. They won 23-9. I mean, Carson Wentz, what team was he playing for that game? Dallas? Because he gave them 4 extra possessions that they didn't have even before. By the way, the Eagles off the bye since 2007 are 6-7 since 2007. So a lot of teams, believe me, if you guys go back and look at all the records, and I keep records of basically everything, you will see that some teams do well off the bye and some don't. But I could tell you right now, the Giants are playing very well against good teams. They're playing very well against the spread. I like what they did last week. I didn't really like what they did against Washington. That game should have been a blowout. They were up 20-3. They ended up winning 23-20. That's not the way you got to close out games. But the week before, Brady always has problems with the Giants. They played well, and I should have, I should have had him that week as well. No matter what it is, Brady has something in his head with the Giants because he can't beat him in the Super Bowls and he can't beat him during the season. So I like the Giants at home plus 3.5. Payback, a little revenge, whatever you want to call it, against the visiting Philadelphia Eagles. In the second game, I'm also looking Tampa Bay at Carolina plus 4.5. I like Carolina at home plus 4.5 because I liked them last week against Kansas City because I think Kansas City and basically the rest of the NFL is taking Carolina for granted. Teddy Bridgewater is a better quarterback than a lot of people give him credit for. He before he had his severe knee injury in Minnesota, he took that team to the playoffs, and I think they would have gone a lot deeper had they kept him around, but they decided to go in a different direction with Kirk Cousins. Carolina, you also have Christian McCaffrey. He had a game under his belt. Look, they almost beat Kansas City. If they had gotten a little further down the field at the end of the game against Kansas City and kicked that field goal, they're winning that game. They're beating Kansas City in Kansas City. You know, Kansas City's sort of going through the motions, and a lot of teams are not taking Carolina either, you know, too seriously. But there's a lot of talent on that team. Robbie Anderson is showing everybody, and especially the Jets, that they made a mistake in not re-signing him. You got, you know, like I said, Christian McCaffrey. He's a one-man wrecking crew.
Well,
and who's stopping him? Who is stopping this guy?
He might be out, though, because he got hurt again at the end of the last game.
Well, so far, I haven't read anything yet, but we'll see. But the funny thing is even though he wasn't there in the lineup for those few weeks, he was, you know, Carolina was still competitive. They were still playing games. And I still like them at home because, remember, you know, divisional games are a lot different than games against other opponents. But I like Carolina plus 4.5 in that game at home. Game 3, I like Baltimore -7 at New England. I mean, Cam Newton on Monday night basically barely beating the Jets. He's one of the worst mechanic quarterbacks I've ever seen in the NFL. I mean, he only wins these games because of brute strength. And his you know, his arm strength is great, but his accuracy is terrible. And decision-wise, I mean, New England, you know, they got nobody to throw to. Stephon Gilmore was out. He might even be out again this week. You know, Baltimore coming off that win against Indianapolis. I like that. I liked them last week. Baltimore, that was my pick of the week, off the bounce back, off the loss against Pitt. Last 6 games, Baltimore versus New England, including the playoffs, Baltimore is 5-0-1 against New England. And Baltimore, you know, on Sunday night and Lamar Jackson, they're going to get this baby rolling again. You know, during the season, there's a lot of ups and downs, but I definitely like Baltimore. Baltimore should roll over New England. They got too many weapons on both sides of the ball, and a lot of teams like going to New England no matter who it is and, you know, really beating them up. I think Baltimore should roll in that game. The fourth game that I've been thinking about and looking at this game, I originally had one game, but I'm definitely, after listening to you guys, I got to go with San Francisco plus 9.5 at New Orleans. New Orleans, okay, here's the thing why I like San Francisco big time in this game. They might not win, but they're going to keep it close because New Orleans is terrible against the spread. I think they're a very overrated team. They're a very overrated coach team because Sean Payton, he makes a lot of decisions that you start to question later in the year. That's why they haven't made the Super Bowl in the last 2 seasons when they should have. New Orleans, yes, they blew out Tampa Bay last week, but look for the big letdown this week because a few of you guys mentioned that they do play down to their competition. Look, they barely beat the Chargers. They barely beat the Bears. They, you know, late in games when they're up by 10 points, I mean, that game against the Bears, they all of a sudden had to go to overtime when they should have won that. You know, the defense seems to let up late in games, which I'm looking at San Francisco as probably a backdoor cover. Yes, they are getting guys healthy. Yes, they are a talented team, but you know, New Orleans in the Dome, they seem to play worse this year than when they play on the road. So I like San Francisco plus 9.5. You know, I believe I forget who they played last week. If you guys could help me out, did they? Who did
San Fran played Green Bay on Thursday night.
That's right. That team was that's right. They were depleted, and I mean, if you didn't have Green Bay in that game, I don't know what you were looking at, because it was like men versus boys. But I think if San Francisco had a full team that Thursday night against Green Bay, they would have kicked Green Bay's butt, because Green Bay's defense and is not as good as they really think it is. But in this game, I like San Francisco plus 9.5. Take the points against New Orleans in the Dome. Yes, guys?
JB,
All right, I guess JB's muted. He was trying to talk. Not sure what happened. So anyway, JB, are you unmuted? All right. That's right. Anyway, so that's it for Journey with the Jays NFL Sunday edition. As always, Jeff, thank you for coming on. We really appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Be sure to check us out on Tuesday nights as well. We go live on YouTube, Facebook. That's when we record our regular show. And then that airs on Real 1100 on Thursdays from 6 to 7 p.m. And is there anything else, boys? All right, everybody, have a good day. Enjoy football.